My next guest, he is a professional. He was a professional mixed martial artist, now currently retired with a record of 47, 18, and 5. He's a veteran in the UFC, WEC, Cage Rage, and now is currently signed with BKFC, where you can listen to his awesome voice while he's commentating some of those bare knuckle fighting championship fights. Please welcome onto the show, Mr. Chris Lights Out Lytle. How you doing, Chris?
Oh man, I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for coming on.
Oh yeah, of course, man. You're talking fight stuff. What do I like to talk about? Fight stuff. So why would I not?
Definitely. It's a match made in heaven, as some people would say.
There we go.
Awesome, Chris. If you want to just give a minute, I know a lot of the audience would like watch a lot of like heavy UFC content. They definitely know who you are, but to some of the audience that may not be familiar with you, Chris, you just take a minute to tell them who you are.
Okay, sure. I'm definitely what you would consider an old school guy. I actually fought in the UFC once before even Dana White and Zuffa and them bought the UFC. So I was there when the SEG days. Oh, horrible. You know, I mean, I remember I fought there and I was like, I'm going back to Japan. I was fighting over in Pancrase. I was like, they treat you better over in Japan. So, I did that, went back over there. And then I quickly realized, right after I'd fought in there, Zuffa and Dana White and them got involved with Fertitta Brothers and really turned it around. I remember after I saw that, I was like, yeah, I kind of want to go back over there, but it wasn't that easy, Once again, you're in a time, then they put on 5-6 UFCs a year. So wasn't many opportunities. And they only had a few weight classes. So you had to wait, got back in there finally. And in 2003, and then just really had a good time with it after that and ended up fighting there 20 times, ended up with at the end, I retired. I had the most bonuses of anybody. Had 10 at the time. I know it's been surpassed since then, but at the time it was a good thing. And kind of stayed retired for a few years. I've got 4 kids, so I just felt like I wasn't being really a good dad. I was, I've been a fireman the whole time. I was fighting full time, and then trying to do that as well as fight. It was tough. My family was neglected, so I kind of went and spent some time with them. My kids got a little older. I figured some things out, and I came back and had 3 bare knuckle fights. So now I've kind of transitioned. Now I just do commentary for the BKFC, which is by far the best bare knuckle fight organization in the world.
Oh, definitely. Now it's crazy. So when I was getting ready, to come talk to you, get to my little notes and stuff, I was going behind the history. So I remember when I first saw you fight, one of the first fights I saw you, Chris, was against Matt Hughes. So that was UFC 68. I was UFC 68. So then I started going back into like the history and stuff, and I started just reminiscing, about the older days for myself. And when I became a fan, and it's crazy. So you say that there wasn't a lot of opportunities, a lot of weight classes. Well, I saw some of these cards only had like 3 fights in a main card. and like the lightweight division wasn't a thing for a few years in the UFC. So there wasn't a lot of opportunities, man. I can definitely see what you're talking about there. How did you make it work, though, for yourself?
Which part about the fighting?
The fight, like going back into the UFC, opportunities being so scarce pretty much with,
Oh, man. I mean, it was tough. You had to, like I said, as soon as Dana White and Zuffa and them got involved, I was like, I don't get back in here. They're really turning this, product around. And, there wasn't much opportunity. So what you'd have to do is just fight all over the place. I'd go over to Japan and fight. I'd fight throughout the Midwest. I'd go out to California. And you just had to try and fight quality opponents where you could beat a good guy who would get on their radar, So I remember I got a big opportunity when at that point, Robbie Lawler just had a great fight with Aaron Riley, and Aaron Riley's tough as nails. Everybody knows how tough he is. So I took a fight with him, and I was able to get a KO victory over him. And, that really got me on the UFC's radar because like, oh, this guy doesn't get knocked out. And this guy knocked him out. And they looked into me, and I had 15 professional boxing matches. So they think he knocked out Aaron Riley. He's got 15 pro boxing matches. This guy's a boxer. So I was like, cool. Yeah, I'm a boxer. Just whatever you want to say. I didn't care as long as they put me in the fight,
No, definitely. Now, so it's crazy. Obviously, what when we're talking about like pre Dana White, what was like biggest change that you saw that made you say they're really turning this thing around?
I mean, production was not good when they were pre Dana White. I mean, I went there, a UFC. I remember I flew in the day before the fight, and the weigh-in was the day of the fight. And I remember at one point that day they're like, "Oh, Chris, we have a problem with your medicals." Yeah, what? And they said, "Well, you went to an ophthalmologist for your eyes." I go, yeah. you need to go to an ophthalmologist. Like, one letter, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is, Chris, you have to go get an eye exam done right now. I had to go get my eyes dilated the day of a fight. It was like, it wasn't, and the weigh-ins were in like a room the size of the hotel room. It was like a little hotel room. All the fighters weighed in there same day. It just wasn't. It wasn't like when I'd go to Japan. You would treat like a professional. They'd have somebody pick you up at the airport. They'd give you a per diem and do interviews. Like, none of that stuff was being done here. It was like a low end show, but it was a UFC, and I was like, this is what I'm trying to get to. I was like, this isn't gonna make it.
Oh, no.
Now, when the Zuffa and them they started, expand. They started getting it legalized in different states, and they started with the production, the lights, and just made it like a big event, fireworks. It was a badass event. And I was like, okay, this is what I remember what I used to think of the UFC. So they just really turned the production value up and made everything seem big again when it wasn't like that for a while.
Definitely. Now, so how many fights did you do though before you went into the Ultimate Fighter show? I don't know if you remember ballpark.
I had 6 fights in the UFC before when they put me on the Ultimate Fighter. And the Ultimate Fighter was great. They called it the comeback. It was about guys who had been there but hadn't made it to the top, and they wanted another chance, because it was weird. Yeah. Because back then there was no real contracts. I mean, they didn't contract people for fights. It was like you'd fight, and then afterwards I'd fight for the WBC, or I'd fight in Japan, or you just go wherever, because like I said, they only had a few fights a year. They knew they couldn't give you 3 fights a year usually. I mean, they might, but they might not. So they just said, all right, well, you go do whatever you want. And then it was a little bit more pressure because you had to win those fights. You go to the WBC and lose, I don't know if they're bringing you back.
Oh, snap. So yeah, the pressure was definitely all around. Now, how was the experience of the Ultimate Fighter and, just being in the house, no contact to the outside world?
You know what, man? I mean, I absolutely loved it. A lot of people had problems with it. They're like, man, I don't have my phone. I'm like, who cares about your phone? Like, I can't watch any TV. I'm like, they don't understand. Like I was saying before, I was always on the fire department. I always had kids. Like, I always had to fit in training around my life. This is really the only time in my career I didn't have to do that. I got to go to the gym twice a day. Rain or shine, it mattered. I was just there. We were there all the time. I was training with some of the best guys in the world. So it was a great experience for me. I loved it, and like I said, it's the best I ever really got to train.
So yeah, that's crazy. So a lot of the people like to talk about like how hard it is, the mental thing, not being able to like have books, no phone, no social media and stuff. But you embraced it.
Oh man, like I said, I remember me, Matt, Sarah, we talk about that. We're like, dude, you don't get this kind of opportunity other time. These people complain about things good. I hope they're having a terrible time, and mentally they're weak and they're breaking down because, just the mental toughness is the key to that game, and being in there and understanding, keeping your eyes on the prize. What is your goal? And if you know what your goal is, and this is going to help you get there, you got to embrace it. You got to love it. And, I was definitely loving fighting right then. And that was what I wanted to do. And that's where I wanted to be. And, I understood it was tough not being around the family. I get that. And the weird thing, I don't even know if anybody ever talks about this, but when you leave that house, you feel weird for a couple of days, man. I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say institutionalized, because that's not it, but you feel weird, man. You go and you're around a bunch of people. Like, I haven't been around really any other people besides these other 15 guys, in the last 6 weeks. So you just feel weird around people for a while. My wife was like, you're acting weird. I'm like, I feel weird. It was really strange. I cannot imagine these people who come out of prison. I understand they're weird for a while. And I was only in the house for 6 days or 6 weeks, and it wasn't like prison, but it was just different not being around any kind of TV or radio or book or anything. You feel kind of isolated. It's very strange.
That is. I've never had to experience that, so I definitely can't talk from experience there, but I hope
next time you get somebody on the Ultimate Fighter, ask them how they felt when they left. Maybe other people. I mean, I talked to a couple of people, and they've both agreed with me.
Oh, definitely. I'll actually reach out to a couple.
Please do. Please see what they say. I want to know what they say.
Now, for you, Chris, you've done a lot of things, man. You've boxed, done bare knuckle, you've done MMA. I mean, you also, you've been a firefighter. You keep a really active lifestyle. I was even trying to watch myself with the introduction. I'm like, what do I say on here? Because the accolades are a lot here. So that's, I mean, that's always a great thing. Can we just talk about you had a brief boxing stint, and by brief, I mean, you had your 15 fights, but I believe that was before your MMA career, correct?
No, it was during my MMA career,
okay,
man.
So you were doing both.
I was doing both at the same time for sure. And, I really went into the boxing gym to help my MMA career. I felt like I was good on the ground. I knew I was fairly tough, but I was like, I need to get better with my hands. So I started going to this boxing gym, and I was there for probably a month and a half. And the boxing guy called me up one day. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Would you want to do a pro boxing match?" I was like, "Sure." And so he drove me out to a Top Rank Boxing, on TV thing. And they're like, "Hey, you're going to fight this guy. He's 2-0 as a pro, and he's had like 50 amateur fights." And I never had an amateur boxing match. So I was like, all right, and I was brought in to lose. I was supposed to be the guy who gets beat up. And they said I won every round, but they ended up calling it a draw. I was fighting the guy in his hometown. Like, whatever, they gave me a draw. And the guy from Top Rank Boxing kind of said, "Man, you were brought in to lose, man, and you look great." He's like, "You beat that guy. I don't care what they said." It's like, "What's your name?" And I told him my name, Chris Lytle. He's like, "Well, I'm going to call you Lights Out because you're going to knock a lot of people out." So that's how I got my nickname. And, you're not allowed to give yourself a nickname. So that's how it happened. And that started my boxing career. He told my guys, like, "Get this guy some more fights because he's pretty good. Just add to what he does." So then I did that. And I love boxing. I would have kept doing it. But when I got on the Ultimate Fighter you talked about, they made me sign a contract. It was like, it's the only combative sport I could do. So it's like, oh, well, what are you going to do? And I figure at some point I'd have another boxing match, but it just never happened.
Oh, snap. So, wow. So it's crazy that they straight that. I mean, you were on a roll there, 13-1-1.
Yeah. Well, so, I keep trying to tell people, man, if they need anybody else for these Trilla things, man, they need a real boxer, let me know. That's one of the few things I do. I would do one of those things. Give me there the real a boxer. I'd love to do that.
So, it's funny that you mentioned that. So, this sort of thing, and obviously there's like a lot of like split reactions, between like fans saying,
yeah,
"Oh, this is like disgraceful," and some people are really enjoying like the entertainment aspect of it, because I mean,
it's entertainment, baby. That's what it
exactly,
is. Yeah.
Exactly. When you had Snoop Dogg, Justin Bieber performing up there, you had some boxing matches in there. You had a YouTube stars there. You had Ben Askren there. What was your take on this whole like Jake Paul and Ben Askren thing for you?
I mean, say what you will. I think Jake Paul's I'm sure he's a great athlete and he's training the right way. But I mean, I don't think they're going to put him in there with somebody they think's going to beat him because he's selling too much and making too much for him. And I think they look at Ben's a great fighter, but a stand-up guy, he's not. You know what I mean? He kind of proved that. And first of all, I don't think he cared. He just acted like he didn't have it. He's just happy to be there. Like, hey, do I get a free shirt with this? I don't know. He's just happy to be there, getting paid well. But I mean, they're not putting him in there with a tough stand-up fighters. They're not doing that at this point. Later, but I'll do it a little bit.
I mean, definitely. I mean, there's like, people talking like Tyron Woodley wanting to fight, McGregor wouldn't fight. I think those guys would starch him, safe to say there, right?
Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like I said, they picked the right opponent. I personally thought Ben was going to beat him. I thought what he would do is be smart in the first 2 rounds. He wouldn't have thrown a punch. He would just, moved his head and wrestled and pushed him around. I don't care if he loses a point. He was, tie him up, throw him around, wear his arms out, and then take over after that. But he just kind of stood in front of him and got hit. So I don't know if he just didn't care enough or just didn't think it through or what. But I mean, not like I'm saying, not saying the guy's a terrible fighter, but he's not. I don't think he's. I think he's a very good hammer, but probably not a very good nail. So we'll see what happens when he gets hit.
So if you get the call, Chris, you would definitely consider doing this.
I'd do it today. Oh. I wouldn't do a training camp. I mean, I would, but I mean, if I get called today, I'd go do it right now.
that's awesome. So that's good.
I don't even care if it'd be him. I'd fight it. I mean, dude, just throw me in there with anybody. I'd love to do that type of stuff. Man, I've always wanted to have another like a retirement boxing match. I never had one, so I don't care if you just throw me in there with anybody. I'd love it.
I love Chris Lights Out Lytle for that one.
I'm in, baby. Put me in, coach.
So it's funny though, because I heard a lot of people were like hating on it. And look, like I watch a lot of MMA. I definitely qualify as a hardcore MMA fan, and I really try to watch it as unbiased as I can, because you got to be unbiased. Now you're gonna end up like losing a lot of debates here. So I told everybody, if it's on and you don't want to watch it, just don't watch it.
Yeah, but people, other people do. So why do you care if they want to watch something? I don't understand. I mean, especially I understood a lot more the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones, which I mean I knew at the beginning nobody's getting knocked out in that because they're not really trying to knock each other out. Yeah. That was like an exhibition match between two old guys. I got it. You know what I mean? It was still cool to see. And this other one wasn't about that. This was about, these two guys are going to fight, but I don't think they're, really the highest quality as the other guys were. So Triller's not about putting on the very best fight, in my opinion. It's about entertainment, like you said. And who wouldn't want to see, two different guys, you might like, you might hate them. I want to see those guys fight. So,
yeah. So, I mean, if you're hating on it and don't like it, then just don't watch it,
Exactly. And I don't like women's golf, but people watch. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it, but I'm not mad at them. That's a disgrace in sports. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's just a fight. I mean, it's crazy. What do you think of De La Hoya returning for a match?
Who, De La Hoya?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right there. Who we need to sign me up for that one, man. That's who he said. He said about finding an MMA guy. That'd be me, man. Come on, De La Hoya, let's do it. I'd love to do that. You don't believe that'd be awesome, man. Because man, I used to like watching the Golden Boy. He was a legit fighter, man, and now he's just got even bigger head to be a big target. It'd be awesome. Be awesome to fight him.
I think a lot of people are lining up to fight Oscar here.
Oh, I guarantee it, man. But I mean, he said he wants to fight a guy with MMA. That'd be me. But who else has a lot of boxing? I can't think of anybody around his weight class that you could throw him in there with that.
Makes a lot of sense. So in your opinion, Chris, what's the hardest transition though for an athlete that's an MMA fighter to go into boxing right there? Because I know it's a tough transition. It is a tough transition, and from what I've heard.
I mean, to me, the main thing is just you have to really do round after round after round of just doing boxing. The distance is different, you know what I mean? Because you have a distance with takedowns, a different distance with kicks. There's a big difference when you can't do either one of those, and you can get a lot closer to a guy before you get hit, because when those kicks or takedowns are, you have to start from far away. Your hands have to be up more, but there's just a distancing problem. So you have to really do round after round after round and fix that distance problem. Figure out how to close that gap, but you have to be able to do it. I mean, people think, oh, I do MMA. Yeah, but I mean, you train stand up all the time, but it's different when kicks are involved and takedowns. When it's just hands, it's a whole different dynamics and a different distance. So you got to work on the distance.
Yeah, and then your habits as well. I mean, Frank Mir was talking about it. He was on that fight card.
Yep.
He was saying how he wanted to look at the leg, right away as he got close to somebody.
Yeah,
that was throwing him off a lot too.
Yeah.
It's just mental. It's a muscle memory that or instinct is the better word here, where you're just wanting to look down and try to shoot. So it's definitely hard.
You better not do that. I mean, there's no shooting. You have to, and that comes with training round after round after round out. I mean, I know people have said, "Oh, did you ever want to kick them? Do you ever want to take them?" Like, not at all. Just because I've done it so many times. I had done it so many times. As soon as you go there, okay, I'm boxed right now. There's no kicks. Just, and clicks in your head. The distance. But if I'd only sparred 20 rounds for that fight, yeah, it probably would be hard. But I sparred 300, 500 rounds, you know what I mean? So then you can change those gears if you know what you're doing. It's like I wouldn't go play a basketball game and tackle somebody like, oh, I play a lot of football, man. I'm sorry, I just tackled them. That doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what you're doing.
Exactly. I mean, it's there's definitely a difference between those kind of actions.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, so Chris, you retired in 2011, correct?
Yeah.
Now, what would you say was the proudest or most memorable moment in your mixed martial arts career?
Whew, that's tough. I would probably say I got fortunate there. It's probably my last fight. I decided I wanted to spend more time with the kids. I wanted to be home more. So, I had my last fight set up, and I told my cornerman, I was like, it's my last fight. My family knew. So like the day before the weigh-ins, I went and wrote a letter to Dana White and everything, thanking him for, giving me opportunity and whatever. And at the weigh-ins, I went and I handed him my resignation letter pretty much and thanking him. And then, so I have my fight set up, and you want to win your last fight, but there's nothing guaranteed anyway. You know what I mean? So I went out there and I fought, and it was really bothering me because everybody was like, man, Dan Hardy, he's really got on his feet. You better you better take him down. You're better than there on the ground. I was like, all right, but I was thinking, well, you saying he's really good on the ground? What are you saying? I'm not, or on my feet, on his feet. I'm like, what am I, terrible on my feet? Why are you gonna say? You think he's better than me on my feet? No, he's not. So I was like, I'm not trying to take him down. That's what I had in my head. I'm like, I'm not doing it. So, win, lose, or draw, we're going out on our feet. So, we had a 3-round war, and I was beating him, and he tried to take me down with like a minute to go, and I submitted him. So it was great. I got to do what I wanted to do, win on my feet, but at the same time, I got that submission. So I got the fight of the night and the submission of the night, and it was a good way to go out.
Oh, definitely. Was family there by any chance?
Oh yeah, I got my kids got to get in the octagon with me. Dana brought them in there. It was pretty awesome. I had a lot of family there. Like I said, everybody. I told my people it was going to be my last fight. Whoever could make it, make it.
That's good, man. Well, I'm happy you had that moment there. Now, question about negotiating, because we've seen a lot of athletes sign their contracts and try to go back on deals. Now, this is what has been said, or what's been shown on there, especially like with all like the John Jones and Dana war with that. Why does this happen? Why are we seeing this happen a little more and more now, Chris?
Well, I think what's happened is, the fight, it used to be, in my opinion, there was very little negotiation, very little room for negotiation. Okay. And I go to look back. I mean, at one point, I remember I'm complaining kind of about how much I was making back in like 2005 and 2006. And then you look and they were like, well, the UFC is like 44 million in debt back then. So I guess I shouldn't have been complaining too much, but you just didn't know, you just see this guy gets this is what I deserve. But I mean, I think people see now how much money has been generated by the UFC, and you get guys like Conor McGregor who've been out there and they've done so much for the sport, and they've elevated things that they've actually had the leverage, which nobody had in the past, had the leverage to say, this is what I need. The UFC had to do it. So I think you're seeing a lot more of that. People who the UFC need understand their value, and they're going out there and they're trying to make it happen. Now, it's a little different. I think, some people might overestimate their value, because even though, the UFC, they might be fantastic fighters, but it's all about number of people who are going to pay to see you fight. And people like you or hate you, they're going to pay to see it. But you can't confuse that and be like, I'm better than this guy, I deserve one. Doesn't matter if you're better. If you can't get 10 people to watch you, I don't care. I'm not paying you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, ratings and pay-per-view buys, I mean, is a huge thing, right?
It means everything to it. I mean, at the end, this is a sport, but at the same time, it's a business, and your job as a business person is to maximize the amount of money you make, because you never know what's going to come next time. There might not be a profit.
That makes, the total sense. Now, let me shift to this. So, you had your last, retirement MMA fight in 2011. About 7 years later, you had your first bare knuckle fighting matchup there. What sparked that interest in you, Chris, or what made you make the move?
It's funny. I remember I was watching on the internet, and one of my friends, Joe Riggs, he did like a bare knuckle fight, and it says like Joe Riggs bare knuckle in Europe. I'm like, what is wrong with Joe, man? Why is he doing bare knuckle stuff? And I thought just like everybody else, a total like wrong thought of what bare knuckle was, man. I thought it was going to be these guys in a warehouse, some cars pull up around bales of hay or something, they're going to be fighting. So I pulled up and I start watching it. I'm like, okay, it's in a ring. Okay, this is a little different. And about halfway through the fight, I remember I go, what if I can get a hold of these guys and they'll let me come fight? It just took a minute for me to go, I want to do this. I've never, as a combative athlete, a boxer, MMA guys, like I got to kind of do that if I'm saying I'm a true fighter, I got to do it, and it was intriguing. It wasn't like I thought. It was a lot more measured, calculated. And, so I want to try it. And I got a hold of the guys in Europe, and they're like, absolutely. And they had me come out. And then I thought that was it, and then they called me here in America, like, we're getting it legalized here. I was like, you're kidding me, man. I was like, oh, I loved it. So I want to try it again here in America. And I did it a couple of times here with the BKFC. And as I was doing, I was like I think I might have been 45 at the time. And I was like, man, it's time. You know what I mean? I got to get out of this in some way, because I'll keep fighting forever. I love doing it. But I mean, it's not even the fights. It's all the hours of training and the sparring that kind of gets to you after a while. So I was like, man, I'd like to still be involved. And I've developed a great deal of knowledge, I feel, in like the last 25 years being combative athlete. But I mean, what good is that if I don't, do something else with it? So was like, I'd love to do some commentary for you guys. And we worked it out where I could kind of come in and start doing some. And now I'm doing it a lot more.
Definitely. Now, so here's the thing. So it's funny that you say that because everyone says that. Bare knuckle fighting championship, right? Or just bare knuckle. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's barbaric or that's sad.
Yeah.
Things like that. But I tell people, be careful. There's more to it than what people think, or what it seems. Am I right?
Man, I was just as guilty as the next guy. Like what I said, I was like, what is wrong with him? And then, to be honest with you, after I did that, just talking the wife into it was like, I promise you one thing, this is safer than boxing and it's safer than MMA. Yeah. And I stand by it, are you going to get cut open more? Probably. I mean, superficial. Yeah, it's worse, but I don't care about cuts on my head. And I don't care about this and that. What I care about is my brain and how that's affected. And bare knuckle is so much better for you than boxing or MMA, I promise. I mean, you don't have those, 20 punches per round to the head where your brain hits that, skull and swells up and has problems. That's for people who have brain damage. It's not from getting cut in the eye. You know what I mean? So you don't get that in bare knuckle. You're not going to. If you get in the face too many times, you're going to get cut open. You're not taking hard knees or elbows in the head. So it's just, it's much safer. It just sounds worse. And I understand that, but I'm trying to go and educate, even like state athletic commissions, like, no, you're barking up the wrong tree if you think it's more dangerous. Now, is there going to be more blood? Possibly. But I'm not worried about blood. I'm worried about, having brain damage. And I've seen too many boxers who are afterwards just like, man, I don't even understand what he's saying. Yeah, this is sad. I don't want that to happen.
Oh, definitely. So, I have to get people on board with this. And I tell people, it is safer. Of course, like you said, more cuts, it's going to happen. I mean, it is, a bare knuckle fight, but I mean, the way it's done, production value, I mean, the ring, the way everything's set up, and, it really is legitimate strategy that you're going in there. People think that, okay, well, I'm just going to take off my shirt and go in a fight, But I
mean, more. you can tell, what's amazing too is like, as a commentator right now, I'm seeing the evolution. I'm seeing guys who have had 5 fights and they're night and day difference from a guy who's in their second fight or their first fight. It's like, man, this isn't just a street fight. And this isn't like it's not what people think. It's not even like an MMA fight. It's its own sport. It really is. And it's taking people a little longer to adjust than they think it would. You're like, I've had 100 MMA fights. That's great. You've had 0 bare knuckle fights. So let's see how this is going to go. It's not the same. And now I think just the more people are fighting, the more comfortable they're getting out there. And the more this is becoming its own sport. It's great.
I mean, it is the fastest growing sport or combat sport. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and like I said, I keep telling people, if you go and you watch one or you get the app and you watch one fight, you're going to be like, oh man, when's the next one? When's the next one? Because they're so entertaining. They're a lot of fun. And the weird thing is, I mean, I cannot believe how cheap they are. I mean, they're giving away their app for like $5 a month. I'm like, dude, you get all the fights. I'm like, well, dude, you're giving away for a full year what one UFC costs. You know what I mean? It's nuts.
I mean, definitely. And, again, like production value. I mean, it's not just something that you're going out there in a parking lot. I mean, it's legitimate production value. Dave Feldman, who's the owner, has done really magnificent work with it.
Oh, he's killed it, man. Like I said, I was there early in the UFC. And like I said, the first time I fought was 2000. So like 7 years after they first got started. And I saw where they were. And I was like, ugh. And then I came back, really started fighting for them like in 2003. So 10 years in, and we're probably already to where they were then. You know what I mean? So bare knuckles BKFC's been able to do in 2 years what UFC did in 10. So I'm like, the evolution is faster. The production's better. I mean, it's if you compare the two, it's almost just like they took the blueprint from the UFC, and they really haven't. But it's just how things are going. It's working out much faster for some reason.
Have you talked to people that are just completely against it 100%, whether despite all the facts and data that you're able to show them, Chris, and just are like completely just like in their ways when it comes to it?
I'm not finding anybody like that unless they have a vested interest. And I mean, if your life depends on MMA, yeah, or I can see like, I don't like that. Like, well, I understand why, because if it works, you're not going to have as much money. So I understand that. But anybody who does have a vested interest, I really haven't had any experience where people are hating it like that. I mean, I really haven't. Yeah. I mean, Maybe I'm not talking to the right people.
Maybe, but I mean, the strategy that comes to it again is really what carries the sport over and really makes it fun to watch, real intriguing. Why do you think we're seeing a lot of former mixed martial artists make the transition of BKFC though?
Oh, I tell you that that's an easy question. Is
Okay.
I don't think people realize how tough MMA is on your body. So I remember at one point, I felt like, man, I left a lot of money on the table. I should go back and have an MMA fight. And this is before I did a bare knuckle one. I remember I was talking to one of my buddies, Matt Matron, and he was like, Chris, you come to the gym and you work out, do you think you could do that 6 days in a row for 6 weeks? And I was like, there's no way in the world. I mean, you're right. I mean, I can go in there and go real hard for a day. And I hurt the next day. And I remember I even thought about doing another bare knuckle fight. I tried to come in and go to the gym and go 3 days in a row. And after the second day, I came in third day and I wasn't worth it. That's my body wasn't there, so, and that's just bare knuckle. So that's just stand up. But I mean, think about when you have to do boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, you do that day in and day out. It's so hard on your body. Bare knuckle, you come in, you're like, okay, I'm gonna jump rope. I'm gonna hit the mitts for a minute. I might do some sparring. That's it. You're done. It's so much easier on your body. You don't hurt your back. You don't hurt your knees, your shoulders. I mean, it's a lot easier on your body physically. So I think that's why a lot of these older guys who've been fighting MMA forever, it's not the years, even it's the mileage. I mean, you have a lot of miles on your body. It's kind of broke down. You think you're going to why would you want to go through another camp like that when you go, I'm just going to go do what I like to do and stand up and punch this guy in the face. It's so much easier. And you could do it for longer, without I mean, unless you're going to take a ton of growth hormone or whatever, testosterone, I don't see how you could do really too many fights much past 40. I don't think people are taking growth hormone or testosterone because they want to be bigger, stronger, faster. It's just so you can get through the workout. I mean, so I can train 3 days in a row or 5 days in a row or whatever. I mean, you can't do that otherwise. I mean, I really noticed that when I turned 42. And I mean, I don't know. I think you're going to continue to get guys who are like, man, my body hurts. I'd rather do bare knuckle. Good for you.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that are making that transition, and I think it's good for them, and it's also good for the sport because there are some notable names that people will tune in to just check out. So I mean, I think it's beneficial both ways there.
Oh, 100%. That's BKFC gets guys with the big social media following and who are well known, who people want to see still fight, and maybe don't. Like I said, it's just so hard to continue to do that on your body for 20 years. I mean, you can do it. You try and utilize what you still have left. You still have the fighting spirit. You still have skills. It's just hard to train the right way, but you can train a lot better for just a stand-up fight.
Yeah. Now, what's something you really enjoy about commentating now that you've transitioned into this profession there?
Man, well, first of all, I have to be around the fights. I feel better around the fights. And, I just feel good about, I'm talking to some people and like, man, I understand a little bit more about this from the way you're describing it. And, it's good to, I've spent, about half my life as a combative athlete. It's good to be able to talk to people who really have never done that and try and explain why certain things are happening. And when they understand it more, I think it makes it more enjoyable for everybody. So definitely. Just be able to do that, be there and kind of help everybody out makes me pretty happy.
Awesome. And, just looking at that last event that BKFC had, some good action, man. Every single fight ended. There's finishes all around. I mean, what else could you want as a fight fan?
We were talking about that. Like, I've never heard anybody say, man, there were just too many finishes. There's too many knockouts last night. Like, nobody ever says that. It's like, I want one to go the long, boring decision. Nobody says that. So we had 10 fights, 10 knockouts. I was like, that's a first for me. It's a first for BKFC. But man, I'll be honest. I'd like to see it happen again because they're fun when that happens and they're all good fights.
Awesome highlight reels as well.
Exactly, man. You always want to be on the highlight reel as the winner.
Definitely. Now, look at this next card coming up, BKFC 18, man.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it's a lot of action, man. I
mean, 4 title fights. I mean, they're all phenomenal fights. I mean, when I was looking at that, I was like, that's by far the best card we've ever had. And I've said that a couple of times. This is the best card. It's the best card. But this one is going to be the best. It's going to be the best one. It's like just 4 times. I mean, just great fights. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen the whole card, But I don't care if they put, two guys from out in the parking lot, and those 4 fights is going to be the best card we've had. You know what I mean? And they're not going to do that. They're going to pick good fights besides that. But it's just, it's amazing that they're going to put. But the thing is, we just got so many more people waiting and coming down the pipeline that you can just put on great fights at all times, which is a great thing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great signings from BKFC over the last few weeks. But man, I'm looking at this, man. Joey Beltran versus I believe it's a Sam Shoemaker.
Yep. I mean, we're excited about that one, heavyweight title. And Sam came back his last fight and against Bobo and just looked like exactly what he'd been kind of missing since the first fight. That kind of, he came out as raw and throwing that power and trying to hurt people. And that's all we want we want people coming to try to knock people out. He really showed that. So he's like, I'm back. I'm ready to come out there. And he's understood that's what's expected of him, to come out there and try to knock somebody's head off. He's ready to do it.
Yeah. Joe Riggs coming back.
Joe Riggs, it's my buddy right there. Always a very skilled tactical fighter, but man, dude's athletic as could be. And, a lot of experience, man. That guy's got a ton of experience. And, Joe's one of those guys. I remember when we actually fought once, and I took him down somehow. And I went and trained with him for like 2 weeks afterwards, never took him down once again. So he's just really, really good at all aspects of fighting. And, especially, he's a slick boxer. Even if he hasn't shown it, sometimes his fight, he's like a tough guy too, but, he can be really slick as well. So
it's been a crazy one, man. Luis Palomino's going to fight in this one too.
Man, I'll tell you what, that's been, in my opinion, he's been the best fighter we've had as far as all around. The dude's just been unbelievably good since he's came. He's transitioned over to bare knuckle phenomenally. His defense looks great, and his offense is top notch. He's been the best guy in my opinion, and he's fighting, Tyler Goodjohn, who, if you watch that guy fight, man, phenomenal head movement, very good fighter. It was, I think undefeated over in England. So just that's a fight I know a lot of people have been looking forward to.
Then Thiago Alves is going to be a good fight as well against Ulises.
Ooh, man, yeah, Thiago Alves. That'll be I mean, you don't have to say anything about him. Everybody knows what he's done in the past. Just a phenomenal stand-up striker. So happy to have him there. And Yuli coming off of the quickest knockout in like combative sports history, I believe, 3 seconds. Yeah, 3 seconds. And arguably could have been 2. I was arguing it should have been 2, but yeah. I mean, that's a really good fight. We'll see who's going to be the king of that weight class, man. I mean, 2 phenomenal fighters.
It's going to be awesome. Now, real quick before you sign off, Chris, why should people watch BKFC? What's the selling point here?
The selling point that I always, been the reason I like it so much is, I love it when people come to try and end the fight. And whenever people ask me who my favorite like UFC fighters were, like, man, I like people kind of like myself, like when Cowboy Cerrone and Matt Brown, those guys were fighting. I like those guys because those guys come to fight. No matter what, win, lose, or draw, they'll come and take the other guy's head off or submit him. So I like watching guys like that. You're going to give me a guy who's going to try and outpoint you? Not interested. I mean, they might be great. They might take you down and hold you or out jab you, but whatever. I'm not a Floyd Mayweather fan. I'm a knockout guy. I'm an Arturo guy, Mickey Ward fight. Yeah. So the thing about that is in MMA and in boxing, the money's to the point where you get a lot of guys who all they care about is getting that win, at all costs. They'll put on a boring fight. When was the last time you saw in the UFC when they go, oh, this is a title eliminator fight. Whoever wins this fight gets the title shot. They're boring fights because everybody's afraid to lose. They don't go out there and risk it. That's what bare knuckle has going for it right now. Is it's still just a fight. It's not an athletic contest. A lot of UFC fights are athletic contests. I'm bigger, stronger. I can take the guy down. I can do whatever. That's fine. This is a fight still. I'm going to try and knock your head off. And that's what people want to see. They don't want to see athletic contests when it comes to MMA. They want to see athletic contests in golf or, track. But you want to see people fight, in my opinion. And that's what we have going for us is people. It maybe in 10 years it won't be the same, but it's still that right now. People come here want to knock your head off. Everybody wants to see that. And that's what we got to capitalize on, the fact that we are coming out after you, and we have 2-minute rounds so you can have more You can go faster. We have 2-minute rounds with, clinching on the inside. So you clinch, it's not over. I can still, it's trying to do whatever you can to make these fights as exciting as possible. And I think they are. So that's why I love it. That's the selling point right there is you got guys who are going to come. Two guys aren't going to, there's not an athletic contest. We got to fight here.
Definitely. It's only the beginning, though, and it's crazy. 4 title fights in the next event, but it really is only the beginning. Man, I can't wait to see how far BKFC grows. They're definitely in it right there. Chris, lights out Lytle, man. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate that. And to all the audience, thank you all for sticking around. Everyone, have a great, safe week. As always, I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.